Warning, the views and beliefs in the following program does not reflect the views of Boom Broadcasting. We give full creative control to our creators and do not believe in cancel culture. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from the MOWM studio, Boom Broadcasting presents The Nightcap. And your host of The Nightcap, mouthing off with Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Nightcap here on Boom Broadcasting, hosted by yours truly. Yes, indeed, it is me. It's M-I-K-E. It's mouthing off with Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, and my guest tonight is no one. My guest tonight is myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not feel 100% here today, so tonight's NXT Nightcap was kind of up in the air, so to speak, but I decided to power through because that's what anybody would do when it comes to hanging out with all of you here online and just talking a little NXT. So a little headache, little stuffed nose, a little sore throat. Can't stop me, ladies and gentlemen. Like Jason Derulo, I'm riding solo tonight. But I'm not riding totally alone because I've got all of you here in the comments viewing at home. Shout out to Kayfabe Keith, NXT indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, NXT tonight was a hell of an NXT episode in my personal opinion. I say this on Mouthing Off with Mike all the time. If you are sleeping on NXT, wake up. I mean, it is the nightcap. So like go to sleep, when this is done, but wake up on NXT because tonight's NXT started off hot and it ended hot. We kicked off NXT here with the NXT champion, all ego, Ethan Page. And he reinforces once again that it is not NXT, but it is NX Me, referencing himself. Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't have to say his name because he did in fact appear. That's Joe Hendry. Something we got to take a look at here that I liked. Now, we don't have images for both of them, but I do at least have Ethan Page here from the opening of NXT. Ethan Page and Joe Hendry got custom mic covers. I don't know if this is going to be something that we'll see in the main roster soon, but to my knowledge, the only one that really had a custom one, and all they did was flip the W to an M for The Miz. So I thought this was a little bit of a nice detail. And also to just showcase how much NXT and Shawn Michaels believes in these guys. And that's pun intended because we all believe in Joe Hendry. But, folks, he's got a new attitude. He turned on his family last week, the Rascals. Wesley comes out and super kicks Joe Hendry. Like, listen, this was a good opening segment to NXT. We're establishing those title contenders, folks. Joe Hendry, Wesley. We're going to get to Pete Dunne in a little bit, but we are establishing what the NXT Championship contender picture looks like. And to be honest, the future of NXT is very, very bright. Shout out to Alan. Thanks for tuning in. Much love. Solo Nightcap. Yeah, sometimes you just got to do it. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do the show tonight, but everything kind of came in at the 11th hour, and I'm not going to leave people hanging. I'm not going to leave them in purgatory all day. Like, oh, is Mike feeling good? Mike's good enough to get this done. Let's talk a little NXT with the people. Shout out Derek. Hello. Happy NXT Tuesday. Happy NXT Tuesday to yourself, Derek. Happy birthday. So if you haven't already, go wish Derek a happy birthday in the comments. Go hit him up on social media. You got to do it for the Academy. Listen, ZWC, sometimes you just got to do, a man's got to do what a man's got to Scooby-Dooby do. And tonight I'm doing it. Listen, it's so much easier to bounce that off of people. You know what I'm saying? Like that one would have gotten a laugh. But I'll just laugh at my own jokes tonight. Listen, good opening start to NXT. I like where things are progressing with Ethan Page. I've been very high on him for a very long time. I complained, I moaned and groaned all those months that he was doing nothing in AEW and voluntarily showing up on Ring of Honor just so he could work. So that is a true testament of the type of talent that Ethan Page is. The guy just wants to go out there and wrestle, and he's getting an opportunity, and he's the champion for the third brand for WWE. So 10 out of 10 stuff here. Great work, Chef Shawn Michaels. Keep chefing it up for us because, like I said, NXT typically for me is my favorite wrestling show per week, and that's not. There's bits and pieces that go into it as to why. I'm a little sad, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in mourning this episode. Tony D took on Charlie Dempsey for the NXT Italian Heritage Cup. How you doing? Unfortunately, the Don, thanks to that Ren Sinclair, has lost the Heritage Cup after winning it back in May, and Charlie Dempsey is now a two-time Heritage Cup champion. I could do a whole episode breaking this match down and talk about how damn good both of these guys are. We know Charlie Dempsey, his pops is William Regal. He's got that vibe. He's got the look. He wrestles very similar, picked up a lot from him. But you got to give credit where credit is due because Tony D, as a former college wrestler out there in Buffalo, he held his own tonight. These two went through the technical portion of wrestling. We saw a lot of grappling on the mat, a lot of submission-based offense from Charlie Dempsey, a lot of high impact, strength with the technical abilities of both of these guys. Listen, this match, seriously, I was locked in. I watched every move. I watched every impact, all these little details here. And I'm going to tell you right now, in my personal opinion, I think the Don is ready for the main roster. Now, the rest of the family, maybe. I could definitely make an argument that Stax is ready to go with the Don. Luca, Adriana Rizzo, clearly they've got some things that they're working on in NXT, but it's tough to say because I want them to move up as a collective unit. I think there's strength in numbers, and I think this group should get called up to the main roster together because it really solidifies the family, right? That Italian family, that mob family effect when you bring them all up as one. But from what I saw here tonight, Charlie Dempsey is just about ready. The Don, in my personal opinion, is just about ready. So I say maybe come Royal Rumble season, maybe the Don and Charlie Dempsey make some appearances in the Royal Rumble. Maybe shortly thereafter, WrestleMania in Vegas, maybe we can have a discussion about that draft and getting the Don and the family. But folks, if you did not watch NXT, if you watch the Nightcap strictly for me, which I highly doubt, but if you watch it to get the recap and have me, break it down for you in my own words, I will implore you, go watch this match because this was one of the best Heritage Cup matches in a very long time. The Don, Charlie Dempsey, great work here tonight. Dare I say, this is my top match here tonight from NXT. And NXT had some good wrestling, and it had some good advancement of storylines. So overall, shout out Derek. Tony D, he's no slouch. He was an NXT Tag Team champ. He's a Heritage Cup champ. He's getting close to being ready for the main roster for sure. I agree 110%, Derek. But I think there's one more thing for him that he needs to do, and I'd like to see him hold the NXT North American Championship or the NXT Championship. But I just said it. We're setting up those contenders. It's Joe Hendry. It's Pete Dunne. It's Wes Lee. But I keep noticing Obafemi interrupting the Don. So maybe the Don and Obafemi are going to clash for that title, which, to be honest, I don't think the Don beats him because I don't think anybody can beat Obafemi. The Don has been putting on great Heritage Cup matches. Hell yeah. 4 sides of the ring. Here, shout out to my brothers from 4 sides of the ring. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'll say it 1,001 times 3. Count trivia is coming back. If you're a wrestling content creator, podcast, an edit maker, what else is there? TikToker, whatever. If you're just like me with a dude who throws on the camera and the old microphone and starts talking shit, get your ass over to 4 sides of the ring. Sign up for 3 Count Trivia. Get you and a partner put on for your brand, put on for yourself and prove to the world why you know more than the rest of the competitors in 3-count trivia about wrestling trivia, you know they're going to come at you from different angles. And we know that man, Nitram, he makes them say, oh, damn. So shout out to 4 Sides a Year. Shout out to you guys. You guys can catch 4 Sides of the Ring here on the Nightcap this week. We've got the founder here tomorrow for Dynamite as well with Derek, the Devastator. So we'll have a little bit of a belated birthday celebration for Derek tomorrow on the Dynamite Nightcap. And then Friday, hey, we got Chano Hayes, man, on the Nightcap with me. So 4 Sides of the Ring, showing out, showing love. Much love to my guys. Make sure you sign up for 3-count trivia. There's your commercial break here for the Nightcap. We got Ava. Shout out Ava. Ava, since being in this GM role, round of applause. She has found something. She nails it. I genuinely enjoy seeing her on my TV screen. I genuinely enjoy seeing her as an authority figure, as well with Robert Stone and Stevie Turner as her assistants. Now, I will say, I would like to see Stevie Turner get back to her little hacker gimmick that she was rocking when she first kind of popped up on the scene, because I think Stevie Turner is another woman in that loaded women's roster that can show out and show up. She had a good match with Jordan Grace a couple months ago, but we'll get the announcement tonight that we are going to have an eliminator gauntlet match to determine Roxanne Perez's #1 contender. They did a little old lottery, pulled some balls out of the old ball roller, old school bingo. I'm sure your grandmothers, grandparents, they're out there playing a little bingo on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. So little vibes like that here. We got the Riz, Adriana Rizzo. Love to see it. As you know, I'm your resident Italian podcaster, wrestling podcaster. So I'm always going to put on for my people. We got the Rizzo in the match. We got Ren Sinclair. I got beef with her. I had her back, folks. I had her back for weeks. I didn't want Charlie Dempsey to take her out, take her out. I didn't want the Don to take her out. But you know what? All things considered, she cost the Don the match tonight for that Heritage Cup. So maybe, maybe there should have been some fishes, maybe some sleeping with the vat. Yeah, hey, hear me out. Listen, I love Ren Sinclair. I think she's been doing great here these last couple of weeks, showing that personality. Before, I know Torn and Tortellini from Black Masses and Constellations, they called her a generic call, like a creator wrestler for a bit there. But now seeing her, have that personality, I genuinely enjoy seeing her on my TV screen. She's very entertaining, even though she screwed the Don over here tonight. We got Sol Ruca, who is an absolute world-class athlete. The things she does in the ring makes me believe that she is, in fact, an absolute alien, that she is not of this planet, of this realm. You got Kendall Gray, who's a newcomer, but, she's been suplexing Miles Bourne the last couple weeks. And lastly, you got Karen Petrovic, who I'm a big fan of. I think she's another talented woman here. So you're getting 6 women here who have not really fought for the NXT Women's Championship. And I think all 6 of these women are going to put on an incredible show next week for NXT. And if you had to take your pick, tell me who you got, either at MOWM_podcast or drop it here in the comments on the stream. Who's your pick to take on Roxanne Perez at NXT No Mercy? If I had to put my money on anybody, I'm going Jada Parker. It's a sleeper one for you. I'm just saying. Let's link. Winners get 3-count trivia tag team championships. Listen. Last year, there was 1 belt. This year, there's 2. So, folks, podcasters, my cohorts, my peers, you get the chance to hold gold for real. Because I know I'm not getting in the ring anytime soon, but you get a chance to hold some gold. You get a chance to get some bragging rights. Doesn't get much better than that, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't get much better than that. Can't wait for tomorrow. Going to be another good show. Derek, you already know what we got planned tomorrow. Lash Legend. She's not in the match, my man. She's no Lash Legend, but I need that Lash Legend gold soon, man. I'm losing my mind. I need it. I've been predicting Lash Legend that was going to hold gold since December of last year. I said deadline, she's going to win the deadline match. She didn't win the deadline match. I said, all right, that's all right. Lash Legend, first ever North American Women's Champion. She didn't win that. I said, all right, let's get the tag titles on them. That hasn't happened yet. Sean, please get some gold on Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson's waist, shoulders, whatever. I know, but she should be. No, I agree with you. I agree with you, Four Sides. I don't know who we've got the pleasure of representing Four Sides, but whoever it may be, I agree with you in tenfold because why the hell not? They've been in NXT for just under the time JC and Gigi have been in NXT. So they've been in NXT for a while now. So like, I want to see some gold around their waist. Let's get some metaphor gold going on up in NXT here. This one, not much to write home about, folks. Lexis King going up against Eddie Thorpe. Lexis King doesn't like EDM. He only likes rock and roll. Man's got beef with the EDM community. Got beef with Eddie Thorpe because he's a DJ. He doesn't like that kind of music. Listen, as a former raver, I guess you could call me that. Been a handful of raves in my day. EDM ain't that bad, but like it's certainly not my cup of tea. But like much love to the EDM community. It's all about peace, love, and unity and respect. So, a little plur there for you. But yeah, the whole beef with this is that Eddie Thorpe is an EDM DJ. And Lexis King is like, no, I don't like that. Okay, I love NXT. Nitram said Roxy is on 4 horsewoman level right now. Do you agree? Oh. Okay. All right. She's special. The prodigy Roxanne Perez, she's a special women's wrestler. There's not a lot of women, that can say that they've racked up the accomplishments that they've racked up in their 20s, in their early 20s, mind you, right? I think I have to agree with Nitram. I think Roxanne is on a different level than a lot of women's wrestlers, period. Like, that sounds insane to say, but we've talked about this. I'm pretty sure all of us have talked about this at one point, maybe even last week on the Nightcap or the week before, where we said, like, Roxanne is ready. But the worry is like, you got to have that creative, right? Case in point, Kiana James. She was ready for the main roster. WWE called her up to Monday Night Raw. I haven't seen her. Have you? That's my problem. That's what concerns me. The women, they are loaded up on women. The women's roster in NXT is deeper than like the Raw women's division and deeper than the SmackDown women's division, which kind of on a tangent here, no excuses as to why you can't showcase more women on Raw and SmackDown. 1. 2, I agree. Roxanne is on a different level. She is so damn good. And this character that she's worked up, right? This prodigy where she's better, she's better than all of the women. She has this superiority, complex to her. Yeah, she's nailing this, dude. And it's highly believable. So yeah, I think she's on 4 horsewoman territory. Absolutely. And for some reason, Roxy said surpassed AJ Lee. Well, that's tough. Okay. That I can't go that far. She's very AJ Lee coded, right? We know her and Cora, that's their biggest inspirations, right? AJ Lee, Bailey's up there as well on that list, but and we know Bailey was inspired by AJ as well. So would argue no, that she surpassed AJ Lee, but I think she's on the right track. If she hits the main roster in a year or a year and a half, like let's just say, let's fantasy book, let's go to Royal Rumble of this coming up 2025, right? Let's just say she pops up in the Rumble. She has a good appearance. She's still NXT champ at this time, NXT Women's champ. She then shortly thereafter loses the title to, let's just say, like Delta, Stephanie Vacour, Julia, right? That's what everyone is predicting anyway. So she loses the title to one of those 3 women. The only logical explanation is you have 2 options here. Cora Jade comes back, they feud, Cora sends Roxanne to the main roster. Or that doesn't end up happening, and you do that later on the main roster. But I think Roxanne is ready, and I think she will have surpassed AJ Lee if she captures gold on the main roster in a shorter time span than AJ Lee was able to. That's where my head's at on that. Forget Carmen Sandiego. Where in the world is Kiana James? Listen, I talked with Tortellini and Torn about this. Like, we're going to have to start getting her on the milk cartons. Have you seen Kiana James? Because I'd like to find her. I'd like to get her business purse. I'd like to go start seeing her kick some ass on Monday Night Raw in this women's division. What are we doing here, Triple H? She was primed up and ready to go, and then gone. If that's the case, bring her back to NXT. I don't know why we're dilly-dallying on this because she's incredible. Back to the matter at hand. Lexis King doesn't like EDM. Eddie Thorpe is an EDM DJ. An okay match here. Eddie Thorpe gets the win. Trick Williams. Great promo here from tonight from Trick. So I want to hear what Nitram's got to say about this one because we know Nitram, the one that makes him say, oh, damn, he is in fact a Trick Williams hater. Trick Williams cut a great promo tonight. He's going to figure out Pete Dunne. He figured out Carmelo Hayes. He figured out Ilya Dragunov. He became NXT champion. He's going to figure out Pete Dunne. These two are going to end up locking it up at some point. And I think a part 2 is the only logical thing to do here because you got to keep making Trick look strong. And Pete Dunne is a great dance partner to have in order to do so. Let's be real here, Nitram. You know I'm right. You know the story with Trick and Pete Dunne is pretty solid for Trick losing the title now and having to kind of start from scratch. So, to be honest, there's a lot of meat on the bone there. Lola Vice taking on Tatum Paxley. Now, thought I had a sneeze. I told you I'm dealing with something here today. I didn't want to blow your guys' eardrums. So I was like, no, we're good. If you know anything about me, you'll know that I am unapologetically a Tatum Paxley fan. I have thoroughly enjoyed everything that she has done. She gets the character work. I love this character that she's got. She's absolutely losing her mind. You know, she takes those inspirations from Daphne, right? Love the whole thing with her carrying around the dolls of the women that she's facing. She's got the whole doll house. Like, I think this is very clever. This is very good character work on her. And she can go in the ring. She's another woman that, you know, I have on my list in the next couple years. Like, within the next 2-3 years, you're going to see her. She's going to take over. You know, she's going to be on the main roster. This was a good one. Lola Vice gets a win here. Tatum Paxley kind of takes her eyes off the prize for a sec because Wendy Chu comes out, who is absolutely terrifying. Wendy Chu legitimately gives me nightmares. That is some scary makeup work that she's got rocking, dude. This new sleep paralysis demon version of Wendy Chu, knocking it out of the park. We haven't had too many spooky women characters, you know, since Alexa Bliss and obviously now with Abby the Witch on Raw with the Wyatt Six. So we didn't really have too many like scary, spooky women characters. So it's nice to see Tatum and Wendy kind of filling those roles up, and they're doing great character work. You know, so at the end of the day, I like this. Wendy Chu takes out Kalani, and you got to really keep an eye on it here because maybe Tatum Paxley, because it seems like she just wants a friend. Good stuff here. I'm a big Tatum Paxley guy. There's a lot of real, like, I could go, honestly, go check it out on my channel because I talk a lot about the women's wrestling right now and how women's wrestling is running the world. The women run the world. The girls run the world, like Beyonce said. And they are. They are running the NXT world. You know, I want to say it for the main roster, but there's some weeks where I'm like, come on, Trips. Like, give me a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Like, you got 3 hours on Monday Night Raw. You can't squeeze in a Kiana James. You can't squeeze in a Tegan Knox. Where's Natty been, right? We know she re-signed. We saw the news. So it's like the women in NXT, incredible. Shawn Michaels, I know the joke is made like all the time. Like, I can only imagine what this man's Explore page looks like on Instagram. Like, because I don't know where he finds these athletes, dude, because he nails it. Redemption story with Trick getting back to the title will be good, and hopefully it makes Nitram a fan of Trick. Is Wendy Chu's main gimmick, main roster material? Okay. Yes. Yeah, I think so. Why not? We don't have any sort of like sleepy, you know, spooky gimmick right now outside of like Abby, you know, Nikki Cross. So I think Wendy Chu's gimmick would work on the main roster. Absolutely. Because she's made it work in NXT, right? The pre-sleep paralysis Wendy Chu demon that we've got right now thoroughly really worked. She'd come out in her little onesie pajamas with her pillow. She'd fall asleep like in the ring. Like it works very well. So I think a gimmick like that, you can almost call it like a more sleepy version of what Orange Cassidy does in AEW from the original OC character from the onset of AEW. Not now with how serious OC's gotten, which I like, but I could see Wendy Chu's sleepy character being very similar to like the Orange Cassidy. So I think he could work on the main roster 100%. I'm very positive, as you guys know. I'm very positive when it comes to most wrestling. I think the most negative thing I've said was the AEW footage of the brawl, with Punk and Jungle Boy. And at that point, I was like, it was dumb. And now I'm kind of just like, it doesn't really affect me. So I'm usually not quick to jump the gun on things because it usually bites me in the ass at the end of the day. But we got to talk about this man because this man spit some fire tonight. Wes Lee addresses his actions, saying that he's going to stand on his own 2 feet, that Wentz and Miguel were only there to get the WWE rub. They're TNA wrestlers. They're only going to be TNA wrestlers. More than likely, we're going to see Zachary Wentz versus Wes Lee at NXT No Mercy. He even says, it's a fitting name for the match to take place at. But he finishes this whole promo with a line that wrestling fans and wrestlers alike have been traumatized for years. I wish you the best on your future endeavors. That dude is a menace for that line. I wish you the best on your future endeavors. Wes Lee, you couldn't make heat like this in a freaking oven tonight because the NXT crowd is pissed at him. He super kicks Joe Henry to start the show. Then he comes out and hits us with the wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. And this was one of Wes Lee's best promos. I want to say it was one of you guys at Four Sides of the Ring that said you guys were tired about Wes Lee crying and complaining about losing matches. Well, he stopped crying. He stopped moaning and groaning and bitching and complaining because now he's just beating the shit out of his friends, his brothers. I like this side of Wes Lee. I think there's a lot more meat on the bone here as Wes Lee being that heel who is willing to do anything and everything to advance his position within NXT. And he's got his eyes set on the NXT championship. So does Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne comes out and tells, hey, you're finally starting to see it clearly. You understand that you're the only person that's going to be able to look out for yourself. And he gets in the ring with Wes Lee, and they look like they're about to come to the head here. And then Joe Hendry comes, beats up Wes Lee, gets a little bit of redemption back for that super kick from earlier. And it's made official, ladies and gentlemen, next week on NXT, Pete Dunne, Joe Hendry, Wes Lee, #1 contenders, triple threat to determine Ethan Page's opponent at NXT No Mercy. If my money's on anybody here, I got to go with where the iron is the hottest, and I got to say Joe Hendry picks up this win. I said last week I wouldn't be shocked if Sheamus came into play. Maybe Sheamus comes on down to NXT, screws Pete Dunne over in this triple threat match next week. Joe Hendry and Wes Lee. Maybe Wentz or Miguel pop up, screw Wes Lee out of this. Joe Hendry's winning this NXT #1 contendership next week, and he'll take on Ethan Page at No Mercy. How that breaks down, couldn't tell you. But a part of me believes that Joe Hendry will be your next NXT champion. Sound the alarms, ladies and gentlemen. We got some big, meaty men bumping me. Got the ruler, Obafemi, the North American champion. He's got an open challenge for that very title tonight here against Alpha Academy's Otis. This is a great match here by these two absolute units. These guys are meat on meat. They were bumping meat. They were slapping meat. Meat was tossed all around this ring. Obafemi with a big win and still North American champion. Now listen, I'm delusional. I'm so delusional that I thought Moose was coming. Shout out to my boys off the top media. They let me know last night. Moose said he's not coming to NXT anytime soon. I guess Moose fears the ruler, Obafemi, but at the end of the day, I liked Otis getting this opportunity at some singles championship. I think Otis, highly underrated, man. They should have pulled the trigger on Otis a couple weeks ago. They really should have propelled him to the next level. Dare I say, Had Otis been holding the Money in the Bank briefcase now, as opposed to the pandemic era, you could make an argument that he could have cashed in that title successfully and won a world championship or a mid-card championship with that Money in the Bank briefcase if time flipped itself around, because that's how Otis's stock has been rising since leaving Chad Gable. That will be a great triple threat match next week. I can't wait. Yeah, Derek, next week's NXT is stacked. Tonight's NXT felt more of a very set-up show for NXT next week for No Mercy in a couple weeks. You know, we got that September 1st. Oh, let's look at the old handy-dandy calendar. What are we at? September 1st. I think it's a Sunday. We'll call it good. If it's not, if I'm wrong, you guys will correct me in the comments. But yeah, Big Meaty Men, Bump and Meat. Give it to me every week. Give it to me every week. Hell, send Bronson Reed down to NXT. I want to see something with him and Obafemi. I'm just saying. Izzy Dame took on Brindley Reese. These are two women who were in the same tryout class 2 years ago, SummerSlam 2022. Izzy Dame picks up a win here. Izzy Dame and Brindley Reese were not included in the Gauntlet Eliminator matches. Brindley Reese, though, said, you know, I'm not in the Gauntlet Eliminator either, but I'm not bitching and complaining like you are. It's Izzy Dame, which set this match up. The CW effect is real, and it's coming really soon. When NXT hits the CW and we go for those 2 weeks to tour, Chicago with CM Punk's going to be there, St. Louis with the Viper Randy Orton, there's going to be a large shift in the I think the dynamic of NXT. I think NXT is going to strongly change what the presentation will be. I think we're starting to see a little bit of that tonight, especially with those custom mic covers for Hendry and Ethan Page. I could see them doing that for every talent, or at least every talent that's at that next level. The changes I see, I think NXT will get back to more of, how do I say this without the Prez getting, well, you know what? The Prez isn't even here. The Prez is out there. He's got sand in his cheeks. So technically, I'm the president this week. So, I mean, like, who's really enforcing the rules? Listen, I think NXT is going to go back to horny NXT 2.0 days. If you were watching NXT 2.0, you know what I mean. I think we've started to see a little bit. We started to see Ashanti the Adonis, you know, flirting with the girls. He's only in NXT to spit some game to the ladies. He's going to have a match against Dion Lennox, who we haven't seen in months. He's been chilling on Level Up, getting the old talent, getting that craft honed in on. I'm intrigued to see what happens when we go to the CW, but a lot of those CW shows are wild, and I very well could see a new attitude being presented with NXT on the CW, and that seems like a mouthful. The NXT on CW. We'll see what happens here. Listen, folks, we're going to get the main event of NXT. I wanted to keep things clear, concise, condensed. I don't have no one else to spitball here except you lovely people viewing this here tonight at 10:45 on the East Coast. I appreciate all of you for hanging out with me because I'm riding solo tonight. Listen, I had to put the training wheels back on, you know, and I'm basically just like mouthing off with Mike is live, but it's the Nightcap. So like the vibes are a little bit different. I'm rambling. Let's get into this match. The NXT Tag Team Championship match. Nathan Frazier, Axiom are putting the titles on the line against Chase U. We're going to see Andre Chase and Ridge Holland this go round compete for gold. And ladies and gentlemen, after an incredible tag team match, this was a great match. Shout out to Frazier and Axiom for their title run here. But we've got new NXT Tag Team Champions. The U, ladies and gentlemen. Chase U, Ridge Holland, Andre Chase. The U is back with gold. Now let's just hope Andre Chase doesn't gamble the university away again. And then we got to go back to selling calendars. And we got to do that whole shenanigans. And we got to take loans from the Don and envelope some money of suspicious monies coming out. Let's just hope that Chase U and Andre Chase don't gamble these away. But congratulations to Chase U. Chase U, man. This is another team that I think is ready. I think they're ready. Now, Thea Hale's very young. Riley Osborne's very young. Duke Hudson, He's ready. Andre Chase, I think, is ready. We know Ridge, he's been on the main roster. He's just kind of figuring himself out. They're trying to figure out what they want to do with Ridge, how they want to present him. So, to be honest, man, Chase U coming up to the main roster as a collective, think about the feuds that you're able to have now, right? Like, legitimately, you could have Chase U go up against the Alpha Academy, Otis, Tozawa, Maxine. You can have them go up against American Made now. You could have them reignite some stuff with the family if they both hit the main roster. There's a lot of good things that we could see progress with Chase U. There's a lot of talent that's in the pipeline coming up. If you watch NXT Level Up, I'll catch it every once in a while. There's even more talent. There's even more signings taking place. The recruitment is insane. The tryouts happen every week. It's incredible, man, how NXT has progressed from being this third brand where wrestlers from the New Japans and the indies would come in and kind of find their footing. You know, right? We think Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Pac, Adrian Neville, Bo Dallas, Big E, right? Some of these guys were in FCW. Some of them were indie guys that came in, and some of them were New Japan guys that came in, found their footing, and then, would get called up. I mean, we'd see these significant changes done to their character by a certain man who I shall not name. Now with NXT, it's like we want to develop them, right? We have this clay. Here's this clay of an athlete. We're recruiting these D1 athletes. We're signing them to NIL deals. They're in the Olympics. They're playing college football, basketball, any sport, fill in the blank. We've got this athletic background. We've got this base of talent. All it takes is the coaching and the training of these NXT wrestlers, former wrestlers, coaches, right, trainers, to then take this clay and create a beautiful vase of an all-encapsulating wrestler. And I'll always use her as the example. Look at a Tiffany Stratton. 2 years she has been total 2 years and change. She has missed Money in the Bank. She is on a level that a women's wrestler, it was unheard of to see come up out of NXT, right? We haven't seen a come up like that since Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, Becky. Tiffany's on that level. That's kind of where I want to go back to Four Sides with what Nimram said. Roxanne's on that level. That's the level that you want to be on. But Roxanne, she's been doing it, whereas opposed to some of these athletes with these gymnasts, these sport backgrounds, they've only been doing it for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or, a handful of months to a year or two. It's incredible. NXT, I could go into a whole breakdown here. I'm not going to, I'll spare you guys the details here. NXT 2.0 was truly borderline non-PG. Derek, I know you were an NXT 2.0 guy. I know you watch all and any wrestling, independent wrestling as well. I know you were at an indie show this week. You saw Joe Hendry perform, and you had incredible seats. So NXT 2.0 was something wild. And they kept a lot of that baseline for this new version of NXT, and it's working. Something tells me Duke is going to be second fiddle to Ridge, and he's not going to take it lightly. I'm glad you said this, because I have a funny feeling next week, Andre Chase is going to unveil like a new award, how Duke was the MVP of Chase U. I wouldn't be surprised if Ridge wins Most Improved or Comeback Wrestler of the Year by Andre Chase, and Duke kind of feels a little something about it. Good eye on that. Axiom and Frazier are main roster ready, but the main roster isn't ready for them. No, absolutely not. You want to talk about a guy who can go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds? Frazier. You want to talk about a guy who can get height and levels that you didn't think were possible? You got Axiom. You put the two of them together, you literally, they are real life superheroes. These guys are flying all across the ring. Nathan Frazier is the Flash in real life. Like, that is the best way I can describe him. He is the human wrestler embodiment of the Flash. He can move. Like, how fast does he move? He moves so fast that one time he almost put his head through the ropes. He phased through the ropes. He's that fast. So I agree. You want to talk about speed champions? These guys are the uncrowned speed champions of WWE fully and thoroughly. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Nightcap. I'm mouthing off with Mike. But before we go anywhere, stick with me for 1 sec. So if you guys take a look at your watches, take a look at your calendars. Now, we've got some pay-per-views coming up here in about a week, in 2 weeks. We've got All In Wembley from AEW, the 25th. That's Sunday morning. For me, at least on the West Coast, that'll be a 9 a.m., 10 a.m. start, 8 a.m. wake-up time for me, with probably the pre-show kicking off at like 7 a.m. So I will be up at the crack of dawn next week. The following week, we have Bash in Berlin, which as well starts at 10 o'clock my time, 1 o'clock for you folks on the East Coast, Central Time Zone. I'm not there. I can't tell you. I know it's 2 hours right now, so you guys can do the math. I'm very much like Solo Sikoa, the fake tribal chief. Math and me, we're just not friends. But for 2 weekends only, ladies and gentlemen, the Nightcap will become the Day Cap. Ladies and gentlemen, next week for All In Wembley, the Day Cap will take place immediately following All In London. As you know, usually 10 to 15 minutes after the show ends. And the following week, yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, the Day Cap returns for its encore with Bash in Berlin in Germany. So the Nightcap becomes the Day Cap. So instead of enjoying a nice, adult beverage, or maybe, if you're like me, you got a nice glass of chalky milk tonight, I'm not feeling too great, so I got some water. Probably hit a little vitamin C here, a little airborne emergency. But ladies and gentlemen, next weekend, get your mimosas ready. I got a fresh pot of coffee, Get your coffee ready, because the Day Cap is coming at you on Boom Broadcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging out with me here tonight on the Nightcap. I know it's a weird one. Usually I've got some amazing guests with me, but it was nice to come here and just kind of just me, Oos, and just hang out with all of you and talk about my favorite NXT, my favorite wrestling show of the week, NXT. So get your mimosas ready, get your coffee ready. Shout out Keith, shout out Stock. You already know what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. 2 weeks, the Day Cap. 2 weeks only. 2 weeks only. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm mouthing off with Mike. I will be back tomorrow with some wonderful guests. The founder of Four Sides of the Ring, the Devastator himself, Derek. Friday, I will be back with SmackDown with Chano Hayes from Four Sides of the Ring. Probably figure somebody else out for Friday Night SmackDown. So if you're a wrestling content creator, hit me up. You want to come on the Nightcap this week? We got an open spot on Friday. I'm just going to put that one out there for you. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye. Have a good night. Bye, guys.